Hello and welcome to my Zwift racing series. I'm currently a D-ranked racer working my way up the ranks with a long-term vision of earning a spot alongside the A-ranked racers. But this series isn't just about racing. I'm using Zwift as part of a real-world experiment to improve my overall health, tracking where I started, where I headed, and what it actually takes to close the gap. Throughout the course of this series, you're going to see my weight, VO2 max, and FTP move from their starting values all the way to the goals that I have set out for myself, race by race. Let's ride on. So right away, my goal is to get off the line fast, but not... I don't want to burn myself out. The one unfortunate part about this race is that I kind of started without much of a warm-up. I knew that I was going to be doing this race at this time, but meetings got me kind of pulled away and I didn't get quite the warm-up that I wanted. So I didn't want to burn everything in the first 30 seconds just to stay in front of that top pack. The overall goal of this race, from some recon, not in Zwift, but over just, at Zwift Power and learning on some forum Zwift Insider, stuff like that. This turf and surf is no joke, and those last two climbs, especially that last one, really can put a lot out of you. So I wanted to stay in the middle, save as much as I could for that final push, and I think I did that successfully. Real quick, love the Tour de Zwift ride-on thumbs-ups with the little smiley face in them. Super, super cool. Love the new Zwift draft feature. Thank you so much for finally adding that in Zwift. Now I know exactly how strategic I can be, and you guys can follow along with that. So the first little bit here, I think coming up here in a second, I made a little bit of a gaffe. I didn't need to push this hard. I thought that we were separating early on, but then I kind of look in the map there's 105 people here. There's no reason for me to think that I needed to push there, and it's neither here nor there. But we're coming up to a pretty good point here, just staying with the pack, doing what I can. I'm watching watts per kilos in the riders around me, kind of realizing that I'm doing all right for myself. I'm a little bit higher. You can see in the upper left, the colors aren't looking great. There's not as much, lower intensity work as I'd like. The heart rate's doing okay. I'm pumping out great average going into this sprint, and I am a sprinter. You can kind of see I'm a little bit of a heavier rider for being a Zwift racer, and I really wanted to use the sprint to my advantage here and kind of use this sprint as a way to staple myself in as you guys better watch out if we get to the end and it matters. And kind of a bit of a warm-up for my legs, to be quite honest. I had LB here kind of push with me, and in my head, I'm like, all right, we're going to give you the ride on, but I'm going to ride right on past you. Push a little bit hard in the end of this sprint, kind of just get, like I said, the legs warmed up, the body warmed up. Heart rate's high. Maybe this isn't the smartest play, but in my head, I'm like, I need to kind of give myself a bit of a push. We're 29th right now. I know for a fact that we're going to be falling behind shortly here to fall into that middle pack. I'm not looking to push right now toward that group in front of me. Again, obviously you want to win every race, but right now I'm trying to win the race that I'm creating for myself, and I'm racing against myself. I'm pushing myself. I'm finding small races within the larger race, and I think that that's something that, for people watching that might be in lower ranks with me, is kind of the way to play. You want to win every race, like I said, but part of it is to just do what you can, get some speed going, work on some things, and build some strategy. So as you can see here, I'm kind of, as we speed up, I'm working to try and stay with that pack, but I knew that, again, I'm pushing too hard, and that's probably going to be, if not the A pack at the end of the day, it's going to be the B or the C pack, and I'm okay with that. So I found this group here, in the 40s position, and I'm totally fine with this. I'm going to do as much drafting as I can, ride through the arcade. Couldn't stop and play games today, but maybe next time we'll get around to that. And really, I just wanted to do what I can to stay on the wheels of these people. Use as much draft as I can, conserve as much energy as I can, because I know that it's going to only get worse from here. But really, I see that there's the big downhill coming up, and I know that I can kind of recover a little bit. And unfortunately, I kind of get dropped here a little bit. And this isn't, looking back on it, thinking back on it, I didn't really, I noticed that it was happening, but there wasn't anything that I'm like, oh, shoot, I should stay on their tails or whatever. So there's a really unfortunate part, and this is kind of the lesson that I'm taking from this race, where I'm kind of just alone. I'm 20 seconds away from the group in front of me, 10 or so seconds away from the group in front of me, and I wanted to use this period before this climb to kind of position myself, knowing that that first climb, that group behind me is probably going to catch up. But one mistake that I made that is unexcusable is here I went and I took a quick grab at the gel, and I didn't get to wave at the people to the side here. One thing that I love doing during my races is waving to all the pedestrians that they put in Zwift. I think it's so cool. I wave late here, inexcusable. I'm very, very regretful that I was not paying enough attention there. But as you can see, again, like I'm in a bad spot here, but my focus right now is to say, okay, I know that this group behind me is going to catch up to me during the climb, but if I can do as much as I can now to give myself a position so that when that group catches up, as you can see, they're slowly working their way towards me, I can do what I can to stay with that group. So I'm kind of delaying the inevitable as much as I can. But in front of me, you see Yul Dolce. I'm probably getting that wrong. Slowly, also, that time is coming down, and the time of that group in front of me is kind of not doing too bad either. But right now, I get this group caught up to me at the start of the first climb. I get that sweet, sweet draft, and I know that I need to do what I can to stay with this group through the first climb. I honestly am pretty cooked. You can see the sweat glistening off of me right now. I'm not looking too good. I'm not feeling too good right now. And I know that I got to do everything in my power, like I said, to stay with this group after this climb. So unfortunately, there's a couple times where you go up, you go down, you zig, you zag. It's a little bit of a caterpillar effect here. One thing that I'd love to hear your thoughts about in the comments is I like to push on the smaller parts of the incline. So like if it's a 6% in the case of this race here specifically, and it drops to like a 2 or a 3, I like to push a little bit, get the miles per hour, kilometers per hour up, so that when I hit that next 5 or 6%, you have a little bit more speed to kind of take into that. And I just find that you kind of get a really good push, and that comes in handy later on in this second climb. But first climb is over. We're working our way to that second climb. This is just a tough part, right? Like I'm putting hammer time on. We're going. You're either riding with me or you're not. From here on out, good luck everybody else. So this second climb is brutal. It seems to never end, and I'm doing everything I can to stay in draft on this first half of the climb. Get in, get out of draft a little bit, saving the feather as much as I can because it's so important for me to have that for the end. Keeping on wheels as much as I can, doing what I can, like I kind of mentioned, on smaller inclines to push a little bit. And I'm noticing that my position is just going, and honestly, like, I just feel good. I know that you all know this feeling when you're doing a thing and you're just like, this is kind of good here. So this is the end of the race. I know that I've got to get the right song on. You can see me scrolling through Spotify there. It's got to be the right push song. And this guy behind me is right in my wheel. I know that it's going to be me and him for the race. The race is for 36 right now. And I'm doing what I can to make sure that I can save a little bit for a really nice sprint at the end. He uses his feather, which I don't know why you don't use that on the climb. Personally, I think a little bit of gaff on his end. He's letting me ride his wheel, so I'm getting as much draft as I can. There's a 0.3 of a mile left. Why is he letting me just sit on his wheel? If I was him, I probably would have pushed a little bit, created some space, made me react, and maybe use a little bit too early. But no, I get a little bit of a draft, and I know that it's about to be crunch time. We've got less than 1,000 feet left. I have to push now, and it's go time. You see me switch to the drops. I'm going. And as I'm doing this, I'm looking at the watts per kilo, and I'm seeing, 1, not much of a reaction, but 2, I'm consistently having a higher watts per kilo. So I know that in this last couple hundred feet, I can keep going and I can push. And I do just that. I push right ahead. I see that he's never going to, put what I got out. And, that's the finish of that race. Such a fun race. Again, for the doom and gloom that I was kind of reading about for this route, I really felt strong in those climbs. And I'm a sprinter, not a climber. Like I said, I'm a heavier racer, as you saw in the intro graphic for a 5'11" male of my age, compared to a lot of the people that I'm racing with, right? So, my watts per kilo numbers, I have to do a lot more work to do a lot of what these other people are doing. As you can see, the 35th place guy atop of me, Same watts per kilo, totally different watt numbers. If I could get that, I would be stoked. But you can see I'm happy about the results of this race. I thought I did great. You know, I kind of stuck to my game plan a little bit, learned a lot. But again, those climbs, I felt super strong through those climbs. And I don't know if that's just, you know, getting better fitness overall, as you can kind of see the graph of the overall race if you feel like pausing, kind of analyzing a little bit. But I just felt strong here. And again, like I've been, you know, doing a lot of work the last month. This is the first recording video that I'm doing, but I've been putting in work, and I think that it's really starting to show that it's paying off. You know, clearly there's a lot of work to go, but I think it's just an exciting, you know, realization that putting in the effort does definitely pay off. Climbs are not something that I should be gaining positions in. Seriously, it's just not. But that is the race. I hope that you guys enjoyed this little breakdown. I'd love to hear, again, this is my first one trying to bring in the foray of this. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Hope that you enjoyed the race. Let me know your experience with turf and surf, or Zwift and all.